For more than half a century, the smoke was always there. It lingered in the corners of every memory. Morning coffee, evening walks, long conversations that faded into ash and breath. At 75, most people would say it's too late to change, too late to quit, too late to heal. But one morning, without warning, something inside me whispered, enough. It wasn't fear. It wasn't guilt. It was something quieter, a realization that I had more life left than I once believed. This is not a story about addiction. It's a story about awakening, about what happens when you decide, even after a lifetime, that your body, your mind, and your spirit still deserve peace. And what followed shocked even my doctor. Section 1. A lifetime in smoke. I began smoking at 18. Back then, it wasn't rebellion, it was ritual. Everyone smoked. My father, my coworkers, even the doctors who told us it helped with stress. The cigarette became a companion. Through heartbreak, joy, boredom, and pain, it was there. One small spark, one breath of relief. But what I didn't realize then was that I wasn't inhaling calm. I was inhaling silence. The silence that kept me from truly feeling. For 57 years, I told myself it was just a habit. But habits are only the surface. Beneath them live stories, reasons we cling to comfort, even when it hurts us. When my doctor told me my lungs were tired, I nodded politely, pretending I understood. But inside, I knew something sacred was fading. Not just my breath, but the very rhythm of my life. Section 2. The moment everything changed. It happened quietly. One evening, I was sitting on the porch, cigarette in hand, watching the sun melt into the horizon. The smoke rose and curled into the sky, and for the first time, I saw myself in it, disappearing. I remember thinking, I've given my breath to this habit for more than 50 years. When will I start breathing for myself? That question stayed with me through the night. And the next morning, I did something I never imagined I could. I didn't light a cigarette. There was no dramatic ceremony, no final puff, no announcement, just absence and a strange kind of peace. Quitting wasn't the hard part. What came after was. Section 3. The first 72 hours, meeting myself again. When you stop smoking, the body rebels, but it also rejoices. My hands trembled, my mood swung, and my sleep fractured into restless fragments. But underneath the discomfort, something beautiful was happening. Within 20 minutes, my blood pressure began to drop. Within 48 hours, the carbon monoxide in my body started to clear. And within 3 days, my sense of smell returned. It was subtle at first. The scent of rain on the pavement, the sweetness of coffee, the clean, sharp air of early morning. It felt like the world had been muted for years, and someone had slowly turned the volume back up. But perhaps the most profound change wasn't physical. It was emotional. Without smoke to hide behind, every feeling came rushing back. Memories I hadn't faced in decades. The urge to smoke wasn't just about nicotine. It was about avoiding myself. And now, at 75, I was meeting myself, truly, for the first time in years. Section 4. What my doctor said. When I told my doctor I had quit, she paused. She looked up from her notes, her eyes soft with disbelief. You stopped? After 50 years. I nodded. She smiled, but it wasn't the polite kind. It was the kind of smile that carried both pride and astonishment. Then she said something that would stay with me forever. Most people think healing has an expiration date, but your body has been waiting for this moment your whole life. She explained what happens when an older person quits smoking. Within weeks, circulation improves. The lungs begin clearing mucus. The heart regains strength. Even the immune system, long dulled by smoke, wakes up, remembering how to protect you. I had expected the damage to be permanent. But the human body, it turns out, is more forgiving than we give it credit for. It doesn't matter how many years you've smoked. The moment you stop, the body begins to rebuild. Healing, it seems, is always waiting for an invitation. Section 5. The loneliness of letting go. Quitting smoking at 75 wasn't just a health decision. It was an identity shift. For so long, smoking had been my ritual of comfort, my pause between moments. And when it was gone, I felt empty. I would wake up, make my coffee, and reach for a habit that no longer existed. The silence that followed was heavy. Many people talk about nicotine withdrawal, but few talk about emotional withdrawal. It's the loss of a companion, one that had shared every memory, every pain. But in that silence, something new began to emerge: clarity. The air felt cleaner. My thoughts are steadier. I realized how much of life I had viewed through a haze. Not just smoke, but distraction. And now, in the stillness, I could finally see. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. What started as an act of discipline became a journey of rediscovery, not only of my health, but of my identity. Section 6. The First Breath of Freedom. By the second month, something extraordinary began to happen. I woke up one morning and took a deep breath, a real one, for the first time in decades. It felt foreign. The air filled my lungs like light flooding an abandoned room. There was space, openness, something that had been missing for years. When you've smoked for a lifetime, your breath becomes shallow, mechanical, survival-driven. But when you quit, each inhale becomes an act of wonder. Each exhale, letting go of everything that no longer belongs. I didn't realize how much life I had been missing in those simple breaths. The scent of pine trees after rain. The taste of food I thought I'd grown tired of. The laughter of my grandchildren, clearer and fuller than ever. It was as if the world had been repainted, and I was seeing it in color for the first time. Section 7. The Science of Renewal. Doctors often say, once you quit, the body begins to heal immediately. But the depth of that healing is something few can describe until they live it. Within 3 months, my blood circulation improved so much that I could walk longer without fatigue. My skin, once gray and dry, regained its tone. My sense of taste sharpened. Even my posture changed, subtly but noticeably. My doctor ran a series of tests: oxygen levels, blood pressure, lung capacity. Each number had improved. Not dramatically, but enough to make her raise her eyebrows in disbelief. "Your lungs," she said softly, "are performing better than they did 10 years ago." We like to think that damage is final, but biology tells a different story. Cells regenerate, blood renews. The body, given time and kindness, knows how to forgive. I began to wonder, if the body could forgive decades of smoke, what else might it be able to heal? Section 8. The mind follows the body. Healing didn't stop at my lungs. Something deeper began to shift my mind. Nicotine has always offered me illusionary comfort. It calmed my nerves, quieted my thoughts. But without it, I had to face what lay beneath that stillness: my anxieties, regrets, and even old griefs. At first, they came like waves. But over time, they settled into reflection. I started journaling every morning, writing not about smoking, but about breathing. Each entry began with a single line: "I am here." Slowly, that practice began to heal not just my lungs, but my mind. My memory grew sharper. My attention is steadier. I found joy in the quiet, in the stillness that once frightened me. Doctors often treat smoking as a physical addiction, but for me, it had been emotional armor. And quitting was the beginning of finally feeling alive, unguarded, unfiltered, and real. Section 9. What shocked my doctor? 6 months after quitting, I returned to my doctor for a checkup. She ran a lung function test, the kind that measures how deeply you can breathe. When the results appeared on her screen, she turned to me, stunned. "This is remarkable," she said. "Your lung elasticity has improved by almost 20%. At your age, that's nearly unheard of." She paused. "You're reversing damage." I smiled, not out of pride, but gratitude. Because what had once seemed impossible, healing at 75, was happening quietly, one breath at a time. It wasn't a miracle. It was proof of something profound, that the body, when given a chance, never stops trying to return home. The months turned into a year. By then, I was no longer counting the days since I'd quit. I was counting the days I'd truly lived. Section 10. A year without smoke. 12 months. 12 months of breathing freely, of living without the shadow of habit. When I look back, I see not deprivation, but freedom. Food tastes vibrant. Mornings feel lighter. My walks last longer, my laughter deeper. And beyond the physical changes, something else bloomed: hope. At 76, I feel younger than I did at 65. Not because my body is perfect, but because I am finally at peace with it. My doctor says I've added years to my life. But truthfully, I think I've added life to my years. Section 11. How the body forgives. Science tells us that within 1 year of quitting smoking, the risk of heart disease drops by half. After 5 years, the arteries begin to repair themselves. After 10, the risk of lung cancer falls dramatically. But numbers don't tell the whole story. The real miracle lies in how the body forgives. Our cells, billions of them, never stop trying to heal. Even after decades of damage, they keep listening for a signal of change. And when that signal finally comes, when we say enough, the entire body responds in gratitude. Healing isn't a single act. It's a conversation between the body and the soul. And the moment we choose compassion over habit, the body always listens. Section 12. The ripple of change. Quitting smoking didn't just change my health. It changed my relationships. My grandchildren hug me longer now, without the smell of smoke between us. My daughter says my voice sounds clearer, my laughter brighter. Even my friendships evolved. Some old friends, still trapped in the habit, began to ask me how I did it. I told them the truth. It wasn't willpower. It was love for life, for breath, for one more sunrise. Sometimes, our personal healing becomes permission for others to begin their own. Section 13. Breathing as a way of life. What started as quitting smoking became something larger, a new relationship with breathing itself. Every morning, I spend a few quiet minutes just breathing. Inhaling slowly, exhaling fully. Feeling the body soften, the mind clear. It's astonishing how much peace can come from something we've always taken for granted. Breathing became my new ritual, a reminder that every breath is a gift, not a guarantee. And in that ritual, I discovered what I had been searching for all along: presence. The breath that heals. I used to think that quitting smoking was about losing something. But now, I see that it was about returning to life, to breath, to myself. At 75, I learned that it's never too late to heal. Never too late to forgive your body. Never too late to begin again. If you're watching this, wondering if it's possible, it is. The body remembers how to heal. And life, no matter how many years have passed, is always waiting to welcome you home.